Now let's just cover a few other police state stories. Here in Austin, Texas, in 1998, and I showed the news articles and video of it in Police State 2000, they've put up thousands of microphones. That's right. They've been putting them in with an $844,000 grant each year from 98 to 2004. They say they put in over 300 microphones and cameras each year with the grant. And so that's in the thousands of microphones now, and it's for your safety. And no one's ever been convicted of anything with the microphones. They're just there waiting for the date to be used when the loving martial law keeps us all safe after the next engineered terror attack. But all over the country, they're putting in the microphones. When they first do it, they say it's a gunshot detector. But then later they admit that it's a shotgun microphone that can listen to people from hundreds of yards away. And then the 700 Club had a little report about what they call smart dirt technology. It's really called Big Brother surveillance, and or smart dust, excuse me. And so I've been reporting on these microphones and face scanning cameras and systems going up for years. But now the 700 Club comes out with a report about smart dust. Why, the stuff's just tiny, RFID, and it tracks what you do and watches. And it's funny. We're going to be watching everything you do and controlling you. And then at the end of the report, but it's okay. It'll help your sprinkler system, and it's good. And then another report, the so-called good Christian Protestant who says that forced abortions are good in China. Pat Robertson has said that. And that implantable chips aren't the mark of the beast. You know, he just giggles and laughs on the show about smart dust, smart dust. And they show you the cameras and then down to the little miniaturized things that are going up in the microphones to keep you safe. So here's some little snippets as we analyze the conditioning process through the 700 Club. Neocons you can trust.
You can try to run away from the government, but they're going to be watching you with satellites and following you around all over the place. I think that might be a little far-fetched right now, but in the future it could become more and more realistic.
In England right now, they've got cameras all over the place. I'll tell you what the problem is. They've got cameras everywhere on corners, and there's even a slogan that's so Orwellian.
The London transportation campaign is called Secure Beneath the Watchful Eyes.
There's a fascinating field called nanotechnology. As things get smaller and smaller and smaller, an incredible amount of information can be packed into these tiny machines. They're called smart dust. They aren't really as small as dust yet, but they will be in the future. They could help protect the environment, track down terrorists, give our soldiers an edge in battle. But they could also help Big Brother track every detail of our lives. Here's Galen Tethrow with today's CBN News Focus Report.
In July, graduate students at the University of California, Berkeley were busy scaling the arboreal heights to place smart dust units in majestic redwoods. Berkeley biologist Ted Dawson directs the project.
By being able to put these out in the environment and get a much more high-resolution, three-dimensional picture of what's going on in the environment will really let us do ecology that we couldn't have done before this technology was out there.
Being armed with mass quantities of this better data could mean healthier and more productive forests, improved climates in our cities using strategically placed trees, and enhanced food crops by having the facts to improve their growth patterns. It could also mean enhanced surveillance. That's good if you're looking for terrorists, not so good if you're peeping at innocent citizens. But more about that in a minute. What is smart dust? A computer, the brains to store data, process it, and run the unit. Sensors, to gauge factors like light, heat, and humidity. Low power, so they don't need bulky energy sources, further enhancing miniaturization. Small means more useful and more portable. A radio provides interactivity. Units can send or receive information and instructions. Dawson describes the importance of the radio in this wireless system.
It's networks of sensors that are actually talking to each other, and it's almost like a bucket brigade. One tosses its information off to the next one tosses it off to the repeater, and all of that gets gathered by a central computer that stores the information for us.
On smart dust, researchers are planning to add mechanical components so the smart dust can fly or crawl on demand, adding new meaning to the term bugging device for both surveillance and science. Unlike actual insects, smart bugs could crawl into earthquake devastation, find survivors, and relay their exact locations to rescuers. And smart dust deployed across a battlefield could give all the details necessary to target and destroy an enemy. Smart units are growing smaller and smaller, though not small enough yet to qualify literally as smart dust.
It's probably 100 times smaller than the normal meteorological stations that we would stick out either on the forest floor or up in the top of the redwood canopies that we're studying. That generally would cost anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 to have a fully outfitted MET station.
The cost for these is only a tenth of that. And with the smaller size, you might say these units are 1,000 times better than the old bulky units with all their hard wiring. Berkeley Electrical Engineering PhD student Brian Leibowitz showed us a prototype that's even smaller than the guts of the weather station, and a picture of a test unit that's only a fraction of the size of a penny. And he showed us these blow-ups of tiny motors that are in reality only the diameter of a human hair. Many of these applications will appear in the home.
There's no question, in one way or another, they will integrate deeper and deeper into products that you already have, and ultimately they'll be everywhere.
Meanwhile, Dale Hitt, chief executive of Digital Sun, has just finished developing a smart dust type technology that ties into existing sprinkler controls. Berkeley Law and Technology professor Deirdre Mulligan says we might all think of positive uses for smart dust, but microtechnologies will gather more than just your name, address, and credit card number.
Potentially, it's, how much heat is your body radiating, and how fast do you walk down the street, and, lots of different kinds of data that we've never thought about.
While some of that has potential for health status data, most of the time you won't even know the data is being collected. A thief with access to how fast you'll reach a certain point could conveniently rob you there. In the wider picture, Mulligan says the current legal framework doesn't much limit, say, government agencies with privacy rules.
That would govern how they use this data, in what instances they disclose the data, under what standards law enforcement gets access to the data, under what standard private parties can subpoena the data.
And that potential for surveillance could fulfill George Orwell's vision of Big Brother in his novel 1984. The telescreen received and transmitted simultaneously. Any sound that Winston made above the level of a very low whisper would be picked up by it. There was, of course, no way of knowing whether you were being watched in any given moment.
The globalists love to flaunt the New World Order. They love to throw it in your face. Remember Admiral Poindexter? Another one of these admirals running the police state infrastructure. Admiral Poindexter's been doing black bag ops since Vietnam, with the stuff in the coffins they were bringing back in. And old Admiral Poindexter's a convicted felon, 5-time felon. They had him running the Total Information Awareness Network, a subdivision of the National Security Agency. And the logo for it was an all-seeing eye radiating the earth. Well, they did that really on purpose, so you'd get all mad and upset. They'd take down the logo and say, okay, we've disbanded Total Information Awareness, which was just a front membrane or envelope or shill for the NSA. Well, then they came out with a system called Matrix. And the loving Matrix system is a real piece of work. All 50 states are part of it. When you read the news, they'll tell you 10 are part of it or 15 are part of it. No, all 50 are part of it, and they've been part of it for decades. Matrix is just the new name, like Total Information Awareness Network. It'd be like if I hit you in the face and I named my fingers different agencies and apologized. Oh, I'm sorry I hit you. You're bad. Don't do that again. Oh, and you're bad too. Whereas the power behind the throne is the mind of the New World Order, wielding the fist. They distract you with different names, different logos. But to throw it in your face, the state system tattling on you is called Matrix. Every pizza you order, everything you buy at the big discount slave marts, the big chain grocery stores, if you use a credit card or you use a loyalty card, it is immediately uploaded to Homeland Security and state and other agencies. This has been going on for years. And through the new national sales tax they want to pass as a, quote, conservative move to get rid of the income tax, but they're going to keep both. You're going to have to swipe your card because for the poor, you know, they don't have to pay sales tax, but we have to swipe it to make sure you really are poor. So everyone has to swipe their card to decide what level of sales tax you're going to pay. So they're going to force you onto this very soon. That's their own documents. But when the news reports on this total surveillance of the matrix system, they only do it in piecemeal. An example is USA Today report, Florida town to use blanket of surveillance cameras. USA Today. Here's another one, USA Today. This is kind of the average run-of-the-mill blue-collar newspaper to condition the mass of people. So this is where they make their announcements, that the Supreme Court will follow the UN's orders, that the Fourth Amendment's been thrown out, but it's for your safety. I mean, literally, it's you ought to read it. This is just how good it is. Here's another one out of USA Today, and only one paragraph out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Out of 20 paragraphs. Mike, will you bring me my news article? I dropped it. Sorry. Fell off the table. Can't get up. Live TV, folks. Out of... Thank you, sir. Where was I? Out of 20 paragraphs, the last paragraph is negative. Everything else is how wonderful it is. You're saying, what is this USA Today article? Well, it's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. But, you see, they'll have an article about how Matrix is there to keep you safe, but then they won't tell you what Matrix does. They do that in other articles. It's all compartmentalized. And it's a bizarre headline where I can't even figure out what it means. Missouri tracks scofflaws via pizza delivery database. And they tell you about a tiny piece of this. And it says that if you haven't paid your tickets, you're not a terrorist, you're not even a violent criminal, that when you call in to get the pizza, and you've moved, and the government doesn't have where you're at, automatically all your names are run through the computer database, and of course it's all privatized, so all these retired CIA guys can have their own company getting part of the take. It's all immediately sold by the pizza company in contract through the computers to the CIA front, and the head of this company is a CIA guy, and then they automatically transfer it into the Matrix system. And they admit the Matrix is private and public data, where you go to school, what you do, what your favorite foods are, what you buy at the grocery store, your divorce records, how much is in your bank accounts. It's all scanned on a daily basis by AI computers. Missouri tracks scofflaws via pizza delivery databases. It's dinner time and you're hungry and tired, so you pick up the phone and order your favorite pizza. But you might have just landed yourself a lot more than pepperoni and cheese. If you owe fines or fees to the courts, the phone call may have provided the link that the state needed to track you down and make you pay. And it says that out of court fees, this company gets 20% of the court fees. The private front company loads this into Matrix, the state then downloads it, and they even get part of the booty, part of the bounty. And it says here in the article, the first time your babysitter orders pizza, the pizza delivery company has your phone number, address, and name, and they sell it, he added. They don't have to tell you about it either. That's why they got the loyalty cards, all of it. And now you go in these big slave chains, the slave marts, and they've admitted in USA Today that the face scanning camera looks at you and knows who you are from the state driver's license digital photo, and it watches you, and hidden cameras in the shelves watch the items you get, builds a psychological algorithm on you, sells that to the government. Also, if you put 15 items in but only pay for 14, they'll have a security guard run up. Even if you put it on the shelf, didn't want it, still you might be a criminal. Now the CAPS 2 system, again, you go to the airport, you've got misdemeanor traffic tickets, they go ahead and arrest you, you can't fly. This is happening every day. Nothing to do with terrorism. Now they want to get on a bus, to own livestock. You got to be registered, have each ID number, be in good with the government. If you have bad credit, you can't fly. This is worse than 1984. And this Florida town, to use blanket of surveillance, There's 321 residents. And it says, Police Chief Clay Walker said cameras will take infrared photos recording a car's tag number. Then software will automatically run the numbers through law enforcement databases. Yeah, Austin and San Antonio just got this last year through Homeland Security. And it's, quote, to fight crime. Nothing to do with terrorism. They admit everyone's being scanned. You're like, good, now you got to pay that ticket. The point is, everything's a crime now. Everything's illegal. Stiffer and stiffer penalties. Getting you into the system. To have bad credit, your car won't start. Toyota's come out with a new car where the government has to authorize it. Police Chief Clay Walker said cameras will take infrared photos recording a car's tag number, then software will automatically run the numbers through law enforcement databases. A 911 dispatcher is alerted the car is stolen or the subject of has been on the lookout warning. Guaranteed this is going to be used for people with tickets and the rest of it. Next, the tag number, police will have a picture of the driver taken with another set of cameras, upgraded versions of the standard surveillance camera already in place. So it's to keep you all safe. Are you starting to get the picture here? Here's another one, New Scientist. Robotic traffic cones swarm onto highways. Years ago, FEMA admitted that they have all these extra highway dividers piled up at intersections to shut down cities during quarantines and martial law. Top generals are talking about how wonderful martial law is. Well, these robot cones are GPS controlled, and they're big, moving, treaded creatures, basically, with the concrete barriers, and they'll just move out and block the road. But if there's a problem with traffic, they'll shut down a lane. It's all controlled. So just a few controllers can do all this, shut us down. Even if their own military doesn't follow orders to nerve gas cities or do whatever, they've got the drones and computers to do it. By the way, the Sunshine Project 2 years ago got the plans with helicopters on the pads outside every major city with nerve gas to knock out whole cities. Truth is stranger than fiction. This isn't a Philip K. Dick dystopic nightmare. This is 2004, and it happened, folks. This is the real deal. Your cyberpunk nightmare is now upon you. So that's just some of the news. I mean, I turn on the television. I watch about an hour of TV a week. Every time I turn on a drama, the police are torturing people. Every time. I went to a restaurant a few weeks ago with Mike. Big screen TV on, The Shield. They're torturing people. Threat Matrix, 24, all these shows. And we come full circle just back to how they're training us that torture's good and a great American virtue, and it's good when we do it, bad when others do it. Double think. And I turn on the news and it's, brain scans are being used for advertising and political ads to decide how to manipulate you. It's good. Ha, ha, ha. It's all being thrown right out in your face. But the good news is if we face the full horror of this, if we have the courage to see how this tiny technocracy, this inbred, degenerate, sadistic elite is perched upon us, trying to build this digital electronic police state for us, if we speak out, get involved, boycott what's happening, educate others, if prominent people take action, we can defeat this. This has been the history of the world. The history of America. We wait until it gets incredibly bad to finally do something. Now is the time to do something. Again, I want to thank those that have subscribed to PrisonPlanet.tv, and I want to thank you for your incredible support. We now have many, many servers and tens of millions of people visiting the site, and your support of PrisonPlanet.tv makes Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.net and JonesReport.com and VirginUtah.com makes it all possible. And I would also encourage you to get my documentary films in VHS and DVD format, to get the books and materials, and to make copies of my films for nonprofit, not for sale purposes, and to continue to spread the word. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this weekly report. God bless you. Please get out there and inform others and take action. Alex Jones signing off from the Prison Planet.
In the United States of America.
President Bush, steady leadership.
Ever since scientists started developing images of the working brain, advertisers have wanted to use them for questions like, are Republican brains different from Democratic brains? Neurosurgeon Dr. Alexandra Golby of Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Certainly we get calls every once in a while from those types of people wanting to know, how good is this technology? Can we use it? We want to use it right now.
Perhaps it's inevitable that with all the new technologies for studying the brain, politicians would want to take advantage and find out how their campaign messages are playing inside the mind. Professor Marco Iacoboni at UCLA showed ads to 11 volunteers, Republicans and Democrats, and scanned their brains.
There are some dynamics in terms of the mental processes of Democrats and Republicans when they see the pictures of Kerry and Bush and Nader.
When the volunteers saw the candidate of their party, they responded in an area of the brain associated with pure emotion. When they saw the other candidate, the part related to rational thought lit up. So Iacoboni thinks, attraction is emotional, but people think about the candidates they don't like.
It's the ultimate focus group. It's unedited impression of what people may be thinking.
What happens when self-defense is against the law? What happens when the protectors become the predators? What happens when innocents are betrayed? Imagine that 2/3 of all Americans disappear. 170 million people. Or that the countries of Germany, France, and Spain are virtually wiped off the map. 170 million people gone. In the 20th century, that's how many innocents were slaughtered, tortured, starved, mutilated, worked to death, bayoneted, hanged, annihilated at the hands of their governments. They had no means to defend themselves.
Got a lot of really serious news here that I want to go over. Just a few of them here. There is plenty of oil. The oil companies are posting record profits. It's all in plain view. And they're getting ready to train you to accept $2 a gallon for gas, and it'll go up from there if you'll accept that. This is the age of tyranny. And prices are now at record highs, despite the fact that they've grabbed record oil supplies all over the planet. They said before Congress 2 days ago, we're not going to get into the strategic oil supplies. We're not going to ask the Arabs to lower prices. Just get used to it. So that's what Spencer Abraham, New World Order minion, had to say for you on that situation. Now, some of the other articles I have here are of extreme importance. UNICEF Nigerian polio vaccine contaminated with sterilizing agents, scientist finds. And it says this is not the first time that UNICEF has been embroiled in a controversy over sterilizing agents in vaccines. And it says the World News reported that in 1995, the Catholic Women's League of the Philippines won a court order halting a UNICEF anti-tetanus program because the vaccine had been laced with B-HCG, which when given in a vaccine permanently causes women to be unable to sustain a pregnancy. The Supreme Court of the Philippines found the surreptitious sterilization program had already victimized 3 million women in the Philippines alone, ages 12 to 45. B-HCG lace vaccine was found in many other developing countries under UN programs made by different manufacturers. Because then the body creates an autoimmune response to the expensive vaccine. And then the UN said it was a big accident. We really apologize. We don't know how this got in all the vaccines, different manufacturers, never happened before. And people went, wait a minute. This vaccine program, for feminist reasons, we're so liberal, was only for women. Men didn't get to have the shots. It was a program for women. They're disadvantaged. They deserve it. Because it wouldn't hurt a man. but it hurts a woman. And so this was done. And in the newest thing, a big top Indian scientist in a major Indian laboratory in India did radio immuno analysis and gas chromatography and others, and found very advanced synthetic sterilization agents that sterilize all those given it, just magically added in Africa. They took vaccines from Africa. They'd also found in India. That's from LifeSite, and they source the mainstream news articles. But again, so maybe you guys can zoom in on this a little bit. But this is pretty important. This is on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Or you can also, if you'd like, just go directly to their website. And they asked the top doctor who did the studies, why they're doing this. And they brought up the point that it's part of a world population reduction program. By the way, this just doesn't sterilize the women. Then the gland that creates the hormone needed to carry a pregnancy to term, they have miscarriage after miscarriage, cannot have a child, develops tumors because the body continually attacks it. So it's the body starts eating itself. It also reduces their lives. But, sitting around at UT as professors, we've got to do something about population. That's the big trendy discussion with the Sierra Club and the Nature Conservancy and, all you guys funded by your big banker masters. So pretty serious news. This is a story by Global Research. They do some great work up in Canada, and we see these type of photos every week. I don't know if perhaps you guys can turn the iris up in there on this camera, but there we go. But there's the military officer. We can't criticize him or we're against the troops. And he's sitting there with his thumbs up. It's a big joke. These young Iraqi children standing there, and we've seen the 666 on the side of the helicopters and human skulls on the fronts of tanks, and the new Marine Corps chants about killing children, how good it is. Just Jim Jones brainwashing. Lieutenant Corporal Bolderet killed my dad, then he knocked up my sister, is what the sign says. This photo is disturbing. It certainly reflects the military training and indoctrination of our troops, which encourage them to kill civilians indiscriminately, as confirmed in numerous reports. It also confirms the crudest form of war crimes committed by an occupation army, murder and rape. The two smiling children on the picture do not know what is written on the cardboard poster. So it's a funny joke. Our troops didn't really act like this in the past, but it's widespread now. We're a sick society. Threat Matrix and 24 on TV. Every episode is torturing people is good. Secret arrest is good. Everything is terrorism. And the government's paying for all of it. This is admitted. Fake newscast, everything. It's all mainstream. And how good it is. It's part of the freedom, my friends. Oh, by the way, in case you were doubting that the government's running the mainstream media, and again, not all of it, but the key big productions. And then the other media, establishment media, comes out and, well, it's interesting, let's move on. Just kind of, this is the Chicago Sun-Times. And it's a glowing article. See, they tell the truth, but it's so good. And they've got Ridge in here saying that we've got to keep Hollywood in line, and they've been meeting for years with Hollywood and helping write the scripts and funding them and running things. Chicago Sun-Times. I coined the term propaganda placement. It's not product placement. It's propaganda placement. Maybe you heard 2 weeks ago about the $70 million the White House spent to have local news agencies. The New York Times said that they spent $70 million to produce it. So, no. They're paying cable systems and broadcast systems to air it. We already knew all about it, see. We've been trying to warn you for a while. That's just one program. $70 million. That's almost as much as they spend in a major presidential campaign. Just one little caveat hors d'oeuvre, entree portion, one daubler on the plate. But protecting America against terrorism attacks and other disasters requires strong interagency communication and superior intelligence gathering. Oh, and a little help from Hollywood. And so when you watch 24 and Threat Matrix or NYPD Blue and they're torturing somebody, or answer the questions, I don't want to have to torture you, I'm the good guy, you're bad, you made me do it. Well, we got to do that for the homeland. And the shows are drug dealing's terror and bid rigging's terror and all the, all these regular crimes now. Oh, I see, we're all terrorists. Of course, how about terrorists sterilize women through vaccines, admitted by the UN, official government programs, official Henry Kissinger documents, all on the website, Library of Congress. CDC documents got released a month ago. ABC had a small blurb. Oh, they admit it's brain damaged millions of children, and they're not going to stop. So, but hey, good business for the fertility doctors. Good business for the doctors that treat, the autistic children. I mean, it's a boon. Hey, antidepressants like Prozac, the psychotropic type, massively increased suicide. Gobble away. They knew that in the trials in '83. Now it's out. How long have I told you that? But, So that's just some of the news. I've got some big brother news. Biometrics, a needed weapon in the battle against new threats. And the government here from the Star Tribune is lobbying to make you thumb scan at grocery stores, to get into SeaWorld or Disney World, or into your business, or into the public school, or to get your school lunch, or to use a payphone. And it's going in all over the globe now. It'll be mainstream in just a few years, and it's to tax you as well. I warned you, but here's the Star Tribune business section. Against threats against the terrorists. License checkpoints springing up. First, this was just to stop the drunk drivers. We got to do something. Now it is a federally funded program. Just search your vehicle and check your, see your papers. But the border stays wide open and will accept all matricula cards now from 83 countries. And, well, you know how it is. Nothing to do with terrorism. Training you how to be a slave. License checkpoints spring up. There's a springing. The last 10 minutes or so, I'll take calls. But I've never aired this on the cable show. I've only aired it once on the radio show. There are hundreds of these clips. And I have a reason for airing this. I have a reason for putting this on. George Bush, I wouldn't say is stupid, but he is a spoiled brat. I've seen him give speeches when it's not a staged event. He gives decent speeches. But everything he says is so staged and so crafted that he's a stumbling, bumbling fool. He can't remember his lines. He doesn't study his lines. And so he sounds like an ignoramus. And the Democrats have made great hay over this. Look, forget John Kerry, forget George Bush, forget Al Gore, forget Hillary Clinton, forget Chucky Schumer. They're all puppets. They're all New World Order minions. But just like in North Korea, Daddy gives his son Kim Jong-il power, or in Syria, Assad gets power from his daddy. It's not a good sign when the son of the leader becomes the leader. That's not freedom. And before 9/11, Bush's bumbling and stumbling got pointed out, but then it became taboo afterwards. And it's worth a good laugh, so here's 9 clips. 9 clips. These are unedited. These are what he said. Here are 9 clips. And make sure you got it piped in here, guys, so I can hear it. And we'll just go through these clips. I'll comment on them briefly. Then we'll get into some really serious news, and then your calls. But go ahead. Go ahead and start them.
And so, in my State of the Union, or my speech to the nation, whatever you want to call it, speech to the nation. I asked Americans to give 4,000 hours over the rest of your life of service to America. That's what I asked. I said, to 4,000 hours.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, you can't get fooled again.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. You know, the TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot.
I think the intelligence I get is darn good intelligence.
You're free, and freedom is beautiful. And, you know, it'll take time to restore chaos and order, but we will.
There was an honest difference of opinion as to how to account for a complicated transaction. I want to remind you all that in order to fight and win the war, it requires a expenditure of money that is commiserate with keeping a promise to our troops to make sure that they're well paid, well trained, well equipped.
Commiserate.
You're working hard to put food on your family.
It's
in the interest of long-term peace in the world that we work for a free and secure and peaceful Iraq. A free and secure Iraq in the midst of the Middle East will have enormous historical impact.
Pence, France. And, of course, he says the continent of Nigeria is very important. You know, there's countless of these quotes, but he does have the eggheads working for them, you know, the really smart control freaks. And my wife, yesterday I was watching C-SPAN and the whitewash hearings, and Richard Armitage was up there because Rice refuses to go because she's a really bad liar. But here's this arrogant Dr. Evil type. My wife walks by and goes, my God, it's the Kingpin. You know, you can put his picture next to Dr. Evil, they're identical, or take head of the CIA, Tenet, and put him next to John Gotti. I mean, he's ready to go walk on the set of Sopranos.
Armitage is a heroin smuggler.
And he wouldn't miss a beat. And yeah, Kevin just ran in here and wanted to point out that Mr. Armitage has a long history with the CIA of bringing in some goodies that, well, end up putting your daughters out on the street corners.